Good morning,
Hello.
everybody. I am Tommy. You're on the freaking Mayhem morning show after the bars with my partner in crime, who I'm just still struggling to figure out what to call you.
Casper's fine.
Yeah, it's I don't. If you're trying to close a chapter, it's just the problem is you spend so much time calling someone by their name. Like when you hear somebody call me Tommy, do you go what? There's just one of those things that it's weird here. And I spent way too much time calling you Casper.
Well, here around the I'm good. Here around the house, like we all refer to you as Tommy. So I'm calling you Tommy. Casper's cool. I'm riding with Casper right now.
All right, cool. Let's add some people that we got here. By the way, smack that like button, people. Lacey Silver, Renee B, how are you? Jackie Azure, Gary LeBron, good to have you. Diane Reese, Paul like. Feisty, Kitty, Gamer Jackie, Lacey Silver. By the way, people, there may end up with a couple of you that could end up with a wrench in your hand, and if that happens, then just you know what to do. There's a lot of people that are coming over here that we know and we trust, but trust and believe there'll be others that come by that they don't like it when you go after the people in power. And speaking of people in power, bro, what the deuce is going on in France, man?
Oh man, dude, I seen a little bit of something on Jesse on Fire. With that he was like reacting to a Candace Owens, but she's breaking the internet, bro.
She's breaking the internet. Candace Owens, whether you like her or not, I know that she's a very polarizing figure, but you want to talk about dropping freaking receipts. People, if you got any idea the huevos that it takes to start talking about somebody being born of a different gender, because we live in an age where that's not something you call out on this platform in particular, or your show blows up and disappears. And this is not someone that's got 30,000 subs. This is someone that's got 4.6 or 3.6 million subs. This girl's making a fortune and is going after the president of France and his wife.
Or wife or Schwazman. She has Schwazman. I don't know. I'm trying to make up a new term.
Well, allegedly, she's her brother, and the fact that this woman would be bold enough to start going after this is kind of incredible to me, because the risk to income. But if they're not taking you down, make no mistake, if they're not taking you down, there's a reason for that, and the reason usually has something to do with the fact that. Because trust and believe, the Macron said, hey, you better get that thing off of YouTube, because everything she's saying, and they said, well, everything she's saying may not be absolute BS. And the proof to that, Casper? The president of France wrote this woman a letter. Dude,
Candace,
why
a letter?
can't this happen? Yeah, did he write me a letter? If you're listening on your laptop there,
we'll send you money for a legal pad.
That's right. I will definitely reimburse you the $1.87 that it cost for the composition notebook. I don't remember what the legal tax cost, but I remember what those composition notebooks cost.
Well, I mean, you can also write psychology, and they'll give you one if you tell them you need to journal.
Yeah, you're indigent, but you want a journal. Then you could probably write that. Or you could do what I do, because I remember being in the shoe and being limited with what you could get. And every single time a cop came on, I'd say, I need a BP8, a BP9, a BP10, a BP12, a BP12. And then I would use all of the papers from that to write my notes on and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here's the allegations, folks. This is the allegations. And the one that really jumps off the plate to me, I think is really needs to be talked about, because so many of these things you go, yeah, it's a he said, she said, or, these people are saying this, but whether or not it's going to get proven. And while it's not, okay, the picture that Macron used as his presidential picture, normally there'll be a book or two that's put in there, sometimes 3 or 4 or whatever. And it's always an indication of kind of a political leaning, or it's an indication of a faith in God. Someone will have the Bible there, or someone will have Sun Tzu, The Art of War, right? The kind of things that leaders read because they want to be better leaders. That's not what Macron had. He only had one book in his, Substack? Is that Substack? That's it, Substack?
Substack.
I think it's called a Substack. But he only had one book in that photo. And the book was written by a man named Andrew Gee. And That may be a name that doesn't mean anything to anybody because it didn't mean a thing to me until I did a little research on this cat.
Let me find it real quick. Go ahead.
So Andrew Gay wrote a book called The Fruits of the Earth. Now, he wrote it that it doesn't say that in English, it says it in French, but it's The Fruits of the Earth. And this is a story that a guy wrote after leaving France in 1884 and going to Algiers, or going to Algeria, rather. Algeria was owned by the French at that time, right? That's the book you see there in the backdrop. And that's a picture of it blown up. That book is about the story of letting go of convention, right? Like man, women, marriage, that kind of thing. In 1884, he went to hang out with Oscar Wilde and Oscar Wilde's male lover, Lord Alfred Davis. And they had sex with Muslim boys. That's what they were doing there. They went there for that reason. Yeah, they went there for that reason to enjoy the fruits of that part of the world vis-a-vis being a pederast. Now, that's a word that people throw around and often don't know what it means. These words, you know what? Since we're not monetized, it's not as scary. But the word pedophile means that someone will harm children or is attracted sexually to children. A pederast is only attracted to male children. It's a man who likes boys, and that book, The Fruits of the Earth, advocates that lifestyle. That's an odd friggin' book to put as the only book you're going to put in the backdrop of your presidential photo. To me, that stinks really bad. I mean,
it's just super telling. It's super telling. That's for sure.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Now you remember the gate we can't talk about?
Yes.
Yeah, the Italian food gate. And if I use that, even the GA one more time, they're probably going to freak out on us and bury this. But the reason that they say that was debunked or whatever, it was alleged back then that the people in power that are hurting kids put it in your face. They have a way that you can go, oh, that's one of us. And one of the things that they do is things just like this. That was what was alleged back then when all of this stuff got debunked. Remember?
Mm-hmm.
It all got debunked. And they made it sound as if the people that were actually saying that, they said, no, it was Hillary Clinton. She's running this operation to. Anytime you start getting a story that gets close, it's so much easier to run with it, right? I played football, and the coach used to say, if the guy you're blocking is bigger than you, let him go wherever he wants, and then take him there faster than he wants to get there. And that's what they do with these stories. So when that controversy all started to break out, instead of trying to say, no, it's not true, they honestly stoked up the people that were saying the stories and tried to make it more and more insane and more insane. And I feel like there are people doing the exact same thing with this Diddy case. I feel like that they realize you're not going to shut it down and say the guy's a great guy. So maybe we could make it sound like he's boiling children and using the oil to fill those baby oil bottles. The kind of ridiculousness that is coming out. If you run a PR firm and you're trying to help this dude, putting out positive press releases about what a good dude Diddy is probably way by months ago, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you know who Balenciaga is?
Do I? No, I don't.
Line. Yeah, good for you, man. Good for you, man. Well, we wouldn't know, and I wouldn't know. I would never have owned anything from Balenciaga. This is it's in the same kind of stratosphere as Prada and labels where a friggin' sweatshirt's going to cost you $450 kind of thing. They got busted for putting a bunch of really weird, disgusting S&M imagery in ads using kids. And that one blew up in their face because, they pushed it a little too far. But this is the kind of crap. It's not enough for them to hurt people. It's not enough for them to human T people. It's not enough for them to do all this stuff. They got to do it in your face. They got to get out there so that you can check it out. And everybody back in the day was right. And this is how you can tell who's on whose team. Like people going on talk shows and going, oh, the pizza that so-and-so makes is so unbelievable. Have you tried his pizza? No one makes better pizza. You watch those clips and you go, yeah, sometimes a cigar is just a cigar. And sometimes it's not a cigar, right? Sometimes pizza ain't pizza. And the way they were talking about it, man, honestly, I didn't know the controversy surrounding that whole thing and all that blowing up with the Q word. And so I thought it was a drug reference. I thought, what they're talking about is either swinging or drugs, right? Because they're not talking about pizza. That's pretty freaking obvious. But it's all over. We can pull some of those clips up at some point because you bought a sweatshirt yesterday for $15. Well, God bless you. Balenciaga basically shit the bed though as a business. I mean, if you look at where they were and where they are, they almost fell off of the face of the earth. Although Justin Bieber still is one of their big advertisers, which doesn't make a lot of sense to me at all. Yeah, we had Jimmy Seville. If you're listening from the U.S., Jimmy Seville was the most disgusting human being that ever walked planet Earth. You're hip to him, right?
Yeah, I watched the whole thing on him.
He was Great Britain's biggest scumbag. Chicken soup the word chicken is another one that gets thrown around a lot. There is a rabbit hole that you can go down for like the guy that made Robot Chicken, the kid that, or he's a grown man, he's an old man, but the guy that was in the, he played, what's his name's son? Come on now. In the Austin Powers franchise, he played the bad guy's kid. He's the voice of
Seth Green.
Yes, Seth Green. There is a rabbit hole you can go down on that man. There are so many people out there that say he is the absolute scum of the earth, and I don't know, but there is a lot of smoke around that dude. And the name of the name of the show that he has had for all of those years that he produces called Robot Chicken. And there's just a lot of references that it's thank you everybody. They all got that name eventually. See, it's great. The best part of doing a show is that your audience, as you get older and you go, damn, what's the hell's the name of that guy? Usually the audience will pop that up there before I can actually work through it.
I beat him. I think.
Yeah, you might have.
I don't think so.
Let's be honest though. Playing $20,000 pyramid, I wasn't killing it. I mean, I really wasn't popping off with a lot of good clues. What do you think is going to happen with this story? So to finish it up, the president wrote a letter to Candace Owens, right? The president of France, are you hearing this? Wrote a letter to Candace Owens. And in the letter, he said to her, listen, this is not for public dissemination. If you're listening and you're not familiar how this works, if you mail somebody a letter, it's for public dissemination. You can't mail someone a letter and go, you're not allowed. And if you do, you're in deep trouble. If you mail somebody your thoughts on paper, they can do whatever they want with it. Welcome to America. So, and they said some stupid things in this letter, man. The letter basically is like an admission of guilt. It really is. They go over so many things in there that are patently absurd. Their argument for how they can prove that this woman was a woman and that she really does have a brother, because the brother and the sister have never been seen in the same place. So the theory is that she is both people. She was born as a man and then she transitioned, and no one's ever seen the boy that she says is her brother. And they take an 8-year-old clip of film from YouTube and circle a picture of somebody in it and say, this right here, that's the brother. Now, I did facial recognition stuff on this. I did everything I could. There's nothing out there on this person, which is, I bet, why they decided to circle that face. But that's their evidence. Literally, that's their evidence, is a 6-second clip that they took a still from and circled and said, see, there you go. That's him right there. And you know what? It's proof, because the press said that's who it was that day. The press said so. I mean, it's the hollowest argument for, I can prove something. It's the dumbest crap I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Hold on one second. So I think that there's going to be pressure brought to bear on Candace Owens like nothing that has ever been. We're going to find out whether or not the new president really cares about free speech, because I promise you he's going to get a phone call from the president that says, help, what are you letting this woman do? She's a
I wish I knew more about the entire subject. I tried to cram some stuff in earlier today, and it's still just it's a lot. It's a lot
hard to wrap your brain around. It's hard to wrap your brain around someone having the courage to come out and do this. I mean, and here's the thing: I don't care if you transition. I swear to God, like, what does that got to do with me, man? It's got zero to do with me. But if you do, then be you and be proud of it, right? That's what you're going to do, and you're going to become something else, to be that person. And if you happen to be married to one of the most famous people on planet Earth, guess what? People might dig into your past a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, people dig
Yeah.
into content creators' past, but they come at this thing with a what do you eat, by the way? Is that a pie?
It's a lemon pie from Albertsons.
Does it look like a pie when you were eating it earlier, man?
Yeah. Sorry.
Do you know what? This brings up a memory. When I was working in the kitchen in Tucson at the prison, I was at the FCI Tucson, and I ran the deep fryer. Best gig in there. We were the only prisons left that still had a deep fryer because there was no violence on that yard. They didn't have to get rid of it. Nobody ever dipped oil or did any of that stupid stuff. Usually they use it as a weapon. But
napalm.
Yeah, napalm. So on Thanksgiving, they brought in pies from Marie Callender. And the guy was like, I need you to go back there and cut the pies because they were all uncut. Bro, I'm walking out like this. I look like one of those robot dudes from the 70s show with the big thing sticking out. I had the front, the back. Yeah. It was glorious.
I used to get my eggs like that. I'd meet the guy out in the yard. He'd come from the kitchen. He would just have all the eggs saran wrapped to his body.
Yeah. They charged someone when we were at Black Canyon because the person they were doing steak or something for one of the holidays. And the dude stole so much steak that they actually weighed out the steak, found out what it cost, and the dude caught a case. Yeah,
they started doing that.
Yeah, the only reason I know that is because when I got in trouble, I actually had to go to the warden before I went to the shoe because I had smacked an officer. And in there, they had pictures on the wall of the dude standing there with the saran wrap all over his body. Like he was standing there with all the meat on him. And even getting hemmed up, I was like, that's freaking funny right there, dude. That's good stuff. So what else is going on in the news? Did you hear the latest on the Diddy and Voldemort front? So
no,
Jay-Z's attorney filed another freaking deal back at Busby, and he filed it yesterday. And it basically just rebuts everything that Busby said in his last filing. The judge is going to lose her mother-loving mind, dude, because both parties now, Busby's guilty too. Both of these parties are trying to try the case, and you got to go to trial to do this. I don't know why the rich think you don't have to go to. Oh, so I don't have to do this. You know, you sued me. What I'm going to do is just instead of going and having a trial like this normally happens, we'll just figure this out because I'm rich and I'm not going to deal with this.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if the average Joe, they just don't. There's not enough interest in the average Joe and their cases, like you're in my case, or else we would have gone to the press and said whatever, talked about the case, but nobody would care. But because they're famous, they just feel like they can shoot out whatever they want to shoot out.
I think that we're looking at a situation where if this dude. I think he knows that if he gets into a courtroom, he's in deep trouble. I think they realize that this thing's got to get thrown out before then. But the internet sleuths, remember I told you I got someone reached out and said to me, make you a bunch of Voldemort thumbnails, man. I promise you, make a bunch of Voldemort thumbnails. Tisa Tells is a channel on YouTube that I don't mind shouting out because she does really great research and she's been tearing up Voldemort since this thing started. And her latest video said, 48 hours. I promise you, 48 hours. Now, the guy I talked to said he was looking at a couple of weeks or whatever, but she says in the next 48 hours, that dude's life is going to explode. Now, I don't know. We'll see what happens. Yeah. But that's as a content creator, you create content. The huevos it takes to come out and say, yep, it'll happen in the next 2 days. I would say she's got a source.
Yeah, because you could lose all your credibility. And I mean,
every bit of it.
It's just one story, but yeah, you could lose all your credibility, and you probably your subscribers would revolt a little bit. Yeah. Like, hey, why would you say that? Now you're just getting me to click on your story. We hear it all the time. Clickbait. That's clickbait. That's clickbait. Yeah.
Yeah. The one thing I'll say about Tisa is But the bottom line is there's probably 6 content creators that talk about Diddy, and I don't miss anything they do because I think they're good at it. There's a billion people that create content about Diddy that I don't think are particularly good at, but I don't miss anything she does, even on other platforms. And
what was her name?
Tisa Tells, Tisa, Tisa Tells. I would say she's batting about 900. I wish she knew a little more about the federal system, because she gets lost in the minutia. Like, she was pretty convinced that Diddy was going to jail to get chemicals handed off to him. Man, I cannot stress this enough. That is just almost impossible. You're talking about winning the lottery, the odds, right? Of all of the hospitals and all of New York and all of the rooms, and not to mention the fact that if you say, I'm really hurting, I need an MRI, it could be anywhere from 7 days to 2 years before they bring you out for it. It's absolutely a crapshoot. They don't go, oh, go get your clothes. We'll take you on down to the hospital, right? Doesn't work.
Yeah.
It just doesn't. And I thought about it last night, because so many people have reached out to me and said, no, you're wrong. So I'm going through it in my head and played a game. I'm thinking to myself, all right, if everything went perfect, so I got you in the unit with me, and I know I put in for my MRI, or I put in for my tooth or whatever, and I go, hey, man, the first time you see them pull me out of here, call my brother, call all the boys, and tell them I'm going. You'd need about 10 to 20 guys to cover all of the different hospitals, right? And then hope that you catch them, that they didn't go in a different entrance. I mean, we're talking about, this is a stretch.
Yeah, it's almost impossible. It's almost impossible. The BOP, they've been dealing with taking people to medical for a long time, and then just say, if you did know, you would have to basically unalive people.
You got to get by 2 guys with pistols that aren't going to leave you alone, except when they do the MRI. They're going to have to stand on the other side of that glass shield, but they're looking through that thing at you and praying that you do something to the tech. They want more than anything to come in there and pew you. Yeah. And I'll tell you something else too. This has been my experience. The guys on transport aren't always the friendliest of the staff members. And I don't mean they're dicks, because they're usually, they're not disrespectful or anything like that, but they're not much for nonsense. They've been through this so many times. Everybody that's ever tried to hustle anybody, I mean, God, they've been doing this for, people act like the BOP went, oh no, we got to take someone to the hospital. This person's famous. You got any idea how many famous people the BOP is taking to the hospital? This isn't
a lot.
Yeah, this isn't anything new. And then the other one, people, for the love of God, he's being replaced. I'm not joking, dude. I got 30 or 40 emails from people that said, no, this was just a way to get a clone in there so that they could get
Why do people, I mean,
to do what? Where are you going to go?
Yeah, they're like, as you explained yesterday, there's just no way anyone would even volunteer, or not even volunteer, but even to get paid, however, an unsurmountable amount of money. Nobody would do it.
Where are you going to spend it?
Yeah,
you can't spend money.
I mean, let's just say, okay, I owe the mob, $10 million, and this is the way I'm going to be able to pay that, so they don't, unalive my family or something. Then maybe you would
have to look exactly like him. By the way,
you'd have to look exactly like. Yeah.
On top of all of that, you need to look exactly like him. And then get tattooed up like him and all of that, right? Some new dental work, all of these things. Or the people that, I'm not joking, at least 10 of them said, no, it's a clone. They don't have to do any of those things because they cloned him. People, I'm not sure whether or not this makes sense to anybody, right? Like from a scientific standpoint. But when you clone a cat, they still got to grow up, right? So if they cloned Diddy 2 years ago, he isn't going to be 54.
No.
God help us, man. The suspension of disbelief. It is just silly. The problem is this. I wholeheartedly believe, because of the amount of people that buy into this shit, I wholeheartedly believe it's a disinformation campaign that's supposed to make all of us sleuths and all of us people that talk about this look stupid.
Yeah.
I think this is a way to discredit people that are doing a fairly decent job of getting info out before anyone else does. When you see people like, this is how people get their news today. And the reason is the people up top take a very long time to write scripts and get them up on, on the screens. What do they call those things? Where you read your teleprompters, right? Get them up on teleprompters, get the edit done, then get your lawyers to get a look at it, right? Make sure everything is all right. A clone? It's not Star Wars. No, but you would think it is. Some of these conspiracy theories are so far-fetched, it's got to be just for a laugh. Well, I tend to agree, and I laughed a lot in the beginning. But what I'm starting to think is that we're in a disinformation campaign, and the people that they're paying, because don't kid yourself, there's a PR firm that is doing something for that guy. You don't think he's paying money to a PR firm to try to keep him out of prison? You don't think that's one of the fronts this guy would use? I mean, whether you hate him more than I do.
Yeah,
he is using this dude more than anybody, but he understands marketing better than probably anybody on earth. I mean, look at what this guy came up from. You know, he managed to make $1 billion cutting deals, and definitely understands the power of all of this, of all of social media. He allegedly got 5 million people to vote in one election. They registered and got out 5 million people to vote in one election. That's wildly impressive.
Yeah, I don't even think I could get 5 people.
You probably couldn't. First of all, you had to find people that weren't on paper.
Yeah.
Did they bust your chops about hanging out with people? That was a big thing when I was on paper, man. Like where do you work? Are there any felons there? Like they were serious about that crap.
No, not at all. Not at all. You know, I opened a tattoo shop, like right when I decided I was going to stay up here, and no, not really. I've had all my POs have just been super fair and cool. None of them were trying to get me. Now, if I would have been, you know, getting little violations, and I was, but by the time I got here, I was okay. But yeah, when I was getting violations in California after I gave them the 25 dirties, and then ended up going back on a violation, and when I came back, they were kind of serious. But they weren't like popping in and be like, "Hey, who's that?" You know. Yeah. So
this is a good question here. People are saying that after the stunt Ye pulled yesterday with his wife at the Grammys, he is now, as Ye, Kanye is now Ye, he's going to be the next one, just like Diddy. Well, he does like to do the name change thing, kind of like Diddy did. You know that there is an allegation out there. There's been paperwork filed that he and Diddy essayed a woman at a recording studio in, I believe, in L.A. So there's already some allegations out there that this dude may. But the way that he looked at that person yesterday was really disturbing. And I understand he's trying to project an image, like there's something he's trying. But if the image wasn't pimp, then he really missed. He looked like a Blade Runner with a replicant yesterday. Yeah, it was disturbing, wasn't it? And I know the scene you're talking about. That's a great reference. Did you ever see the movie Blade Runner?
Of course.
When he kills the chick that's wearing the plastic. That's the outfit.
Oh, yeah.
That's funny as hell, man. That's actually really good.
Yeah. We got the best.
Thank you, Sherry LeGrand.
Best audience, man.
Yeah, no question, right?
And I know we always say that, but I mean, we really do, man. Like, if I wasn't on the screen, I would be in the chat. You know, I would.
No, there's no question. I love the vibe, and a lot of other people have been saying the same thing. Katrina says, I keep old shows playing on my other windows. They need watch outs. Yeah, I appreciate that. I really do. The Reese and I got into a bet about really cults and trims, and Reese said, I said, you know, I'll bet you we could get that thing monetized in 2 or 3 weeks. And she said, I can get it monetized in 24 hours. And I took the bet, and she got it monetized in like 9 or 10 or something. If Reese says go out and do this, the people do. We started out on this one. We actually talked about doing the big push on all the channels. We kind of leaked this. We didn't really announce this. And one of the reasons was we wanted to come in here and sort of tighten stuff up and get used to working together and ironing out the bugs. But we're going to do the big push for all of you who are here early. You know, you can say for sure.
And you guys can see it. Like, I've changed a couple of things, like, you know, like the little logo above my right shoulder. I changed that from the circle to just the Morning Mayhem show. And then I got an overlay down and by underneath you that kind of goes up into your thing. Just kind of, you know, working out how it's going to look and feel. And, you know, I have some cool sound of, you know, some sirens for when we do a police chase that, nice. You know, I can't wait to use all the bells and whistles, you know, but
Well, and I think I'm pretty happy at the speed at which it's coming together. I really am. Hold on one second. I'm trying to. I'm looking up our own show here.
Oh, he's looking up our own show.
I'm looking up. See that? Dude, that's freaking awesome.
And then when we have a police chase.
Do you ever watch 23 and Lock Up 23 and 1?
I know who he is, but I haven't watched like a whole episode.
My favorite effect is when he talks about people who go in to see judges. Like it's always somebody in front of a judge, and he goes, "Oh, they got smoked," and the whole screen just starts. The person's standing there getting sentenced, and all the smoke starts rolling up around him.
Oh wow, that's cool.
Yeah, it's so funny.
I mean, I do have a channel that does only court, legal live wire, and yeah, I should add that. I should add something like that.
Well, yeah, you definitely should. Zombie look on her face and looked so vacant just before removing the coat. This is getting more disturbing as more people look at it. There are body language experts that have taken a look at this. It's not a good situation. And I'll tell you something. Opinion time, people. This is Tommy's opinion. I'm basing this simply on the fact that I spent a lot of my life addicted to chemicals. That girl didn't go in there sober. That's my humble opinion on that. And I don't care if you use. I don't. Like I said, 80% of people that use chemicals do it responsibly. The problem becomes if anybody encouraged her to do any substances so that she felt comfortable enough to do that, that's a problem.
Yeah.
And it didn't look like a well-oiled machine. And normally when you have that kind of sort of bumping around, it just didn't look like a very well-oiled machine. It didn't look like they had prepared very well, and she looked uncomfortable. Thank you, Alicia.
Yeah, if she would have been comfortable, she would have came out, like, hey,
yeah, no joke. No joke.
Around, and she was like, okay, what do I got to do now? Oh, yeah. Okay, off the shoulder. Okay, off the shoulder. Oh, okay. Yeah, she looked super uncomfortable.
She looked super uncomfortable. And Ye, of course, is standing there with everything on but shoes.
Yeah.
Just everything the guy does. And I want to like him.
Sorry.
God, that's all I need. There was a guy named Scooby at Black Canyon. He was a Mexican cat.
I know Scooby. I ran into him.
Yeah, that's a guy. Did you ever hear him do those sound effects? You'd be walking on your way to Chow, and it would be a perfect police radio. Like, I mean, with the static and everything else, and you'd come on and you'd hear like a cop's voice doing I got 6 on the walkway to the Chow, and you'd go, what the?
Wasn't Scooby in my unit? I think Scooby was in my unit. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Fond of the southern half of the state of California.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. You know who I liked? Well, you remember the guy who I tattooed the bandana on his face, the rapper guy?
I do.
He's pretty famous. I talk to him all the time. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. He got legs. That's cool as hell, though.
He's really good. Yeah, he's really good.
I love that, man. I really do. Paula D. Penley says, no matter how perfect the body, it still had to be dreadful to walk out there and have to do that. Here's something that I have found over the course of my life. The people whose bodies to you look more perfect than anyone's find more fault with that body than you could imagine because they compare themselves to everyone else that has a body like that. I mean, down to, I told you that I actually had a kid with a girl that was in Playboy. I was with a girl for a while that was one of the worst decisions of my life, honestly. But she complained about things like the wrinkles on her eyelids when her eyes were shut. I'm not joking. And we would be in a car driving and she would eat tissue paper, right? Chain smoke cigarettes. And I go, did you just eat a tissue? She's like, yeah, it fills up your stomach and there's nothing in it. I was like, good God in heaven, man, get your life together. But she was more insecure about her body than anyone on earth. And that's sadly something that it seems a phenomenon to me. But, Panda Kelly, that's kind of the vibe that I got. I bet he was berating her a lot just before they went out there. I mean, look, if you got cold feet, does he look like the kind of guy that would be stoked with you getting cold feet? Like if she went out there and went, I don't know that I want to do this. Do you think you would have been like, okay, hon, I understand. I mean, that is kind of a tall order. I mean,
It's up to you, babe. If you don't want to, that's cool. Let's just go to In-N-Out,
Kitchen In-N-Out.
Yeah.
You don't
speaking
need to do this.
of
I'll
eating
get you a double
paper,
animal style.
Yeah. Yeah. I was in a shoe one time and we were just getting small portions of food, and you couldn't order food on commissary, and there was guys in there eating TP pudding. And they were like going, man, just make some tea. Because I was like, man, I'm starving. I'm on the door talking, yelling down the tier. And they're like, man, just make up some TP pudding. And what these fools were doing was, saving their milk cartons and putting toilet paper in there with the jellies from the morning, mixing a jelly in with it and water and eating it.
That's so
TP
sad.
pudding.
That's so sad. I've been in facilities where you're starving. I'll even shout them out, bro. 911 Par Boulevard, the worst jail I've ever been in my life. That's the address, 911 Par Boulevard. And they serve cabbage at every single meal, raw cabbage at every single meal. So breakfast, lunch, and dinner, there's a pile of raw cabbage. If you don't eat raw cabbage, you're screwed, right? And it's just the worst menu in the world. And guys were doing similar things. I just pounded water. Like I wanted my stomach so full of water at all times that I just felt like because everyone was starving. It was awful.
Yeah. That's funny. That's funny you say that about the water. One time I lived with this paisa, from Mexico. And I was always complaining about being hungry. And one day he's like, hey, drink a glass of water. And I'm like, what? He's like, just drink a glass of water. I'm like, all right. He's like, drink another one. And I'm just like, okay, I'm just playing along. We're bored, right?
Right.
He's like, drink another one. And so I drink another one. I was like, man, I can't drink no water. He's like, are you still hungry? I was like, no. He's like, see, you weren't hungry. You were thirsty.
That's right. You were thirsty.
Okay, buddy. Yeah. He's like, you were thirsty.
So I got to do this. I'm sorry. So the word paisa, right? Basically, it would be like calling an American a hick. Right. These are the country folks from Mexico. Right. They don't tattoo themselves. Right. They don't get tats. And they tend to hang out together. And for the most part, they just want to be left alone in due time. Like I never had any problems with paisas. The only issue I had was a lot of them, because of the time that they lived in Mexico, there are issues they have with showers and toilets. And the issue with the toilet is they don't flush the paper. So first time I ever got a paisa celly, I come in, I'm like, the hell is that smell? The hell is that? And the trash can is full of toilet paper that he had cleaned himself with.
Yikes.
No, what are you doing? And he's like, what? I'm like, you flush that. You throw it in the toilet and you flush that. He's like, it'll back up. I'm like, trust me, it won't. You can flush a dog down a toilet in a prison. And they would snap they'd snap the heads off the showers because they want it to come out like a hose. And man, we were getting into fist fights over it. Like guys would be like, dude, if one more of those shower heads snaps off, one of you is going to end up getting bumped off. But you probably
crazy
sleeves off of the back of a mop or a broom. They'll take the plastic sleeve off at the top, and then they put it on there so that the spray comes out in a hose. It drives me nuts, man.
Well, I've been in places like that where you tear apart a toothpaste, cut off the end and stick it over the shower head so it comes out like a stream.
Yeah.
Or I've even been, or if like there's no pressure, you'll take like a little shampoo bottle and poke a hole in it and stick it on there so it like pours out.
Yep.
There's no pressure.
There's nothing better than the ones that don't have a right and a left.
Yeah.
You just got a button. You hit a button, the water goes on for 14
pray
seconds.
That it's hot. Yeah.
And then you got to keep sitting there like this. You hitting that button, trying to wash yourself. God help us, man. People truthfully have no idea. I'll tell you something else. This is the truth. The worst phenomenon in prison is there are guys that either out of hate, out of malice, out of bad breeding, whatever it is, that will use the shower as a restroom. When they catch a dude doing it, they'll kill him. For real.
Oh yeah.
It happened. I'm showering in Lewisburg, and in Lewisburg, you go to the showers in handcuffs, right? And so there's 6 showers, and it all goes down to a drain in the middle. And somebody dropped the deuce while showering, and it was one of the most racist things I've ever seen, because the cop comes in and he looks around and he goes, "It's you, Paisa."
Yeah.
I swear to you. He's like, I've been doing this a long time, man. That was you. And he's like, you're cleaning this thing too. He's like, you're going to clean it with a toothbrush before you go. It was awful, man. But it happens. I bet you I've seen it happen inside a dozen times, 24 times.
Wow.
We actually had a serial shower shitter. We had a guy that did it 4 times before they finally caught him on camera.
Man, dude, that's so
they nicknamed
crazy.
him Deuce. I'm not kidding. Got the bark beat off of him. They sent him to the hole, and they couldn't bring him in. They brought him back into GP, and the dudes just called him Deuce. But it was with him. It was a beef with the guy that was cleaning the showers.
Oh yeah, okay, I get it. Yeah. You know, I came into a spot one time, and we were on lockdown when I got there, and I'm talking to myself. I'm like, hey man, why are we on lockdown right now? He's like, oh man, someone made a shit Three Musketeer bar and somebody ate it or something like that. I'm like, what the hell? So there was a cell thief. There was a cell thief when everyone would go out to yard and they come back, there'd be stuff missing out of cells. But there was a lot of people that didn't go out to yard, so they were having a hard time figuring it out. So what these fools did, they took dental floss, they took a Three Musketeer bar and took dental floss and took off the bottom of the Three Musketeer bar. Took out all the nougat and put feces in it. I know this is disgusting. I'm sorry, audience, but
that's how they get dope in. Same way too. Put it in one of those, hollow the bottom out, fill it with balloons. It's not a hard process.
And then they put the top back on, and the dude stole it. And when they heard him scream, they figured out who it was. Yeah, it's crazy, man. Yeah.
James Collins says nudity has a time and a place. Not in that. Yeah, Kanye is definitely connected to Diddy. He made the song "American Boy" with one of the girls from Diddy's girl band. No way he would do that without Diddy giving him his allowance. Look, these guys were friends. There's no two ways about it. In fact, they were very close friends until when all of the Black Lives Matter stuff was going on. Kanye made a shirt that said "White Lives Matter," and he wore it. And Diddy was ridiculously pissed off. And he called him and he said, look, I know you're trying to be funny or whatever, but you got to lose the shirt. You know what I mean? You're not helping the movement. And his response was, man, F you and your movement. All lives matter. I'm trying to make a point. And that was the end of their friendship. Allegedly, that was what was the thing that blew that up for the two of them. Which, you hate to see a couple of good friends go their separate ways over something like that. But Diddy is the guy he hit in the head with a champagne bottle. You know what that guy's sin was? Diddy, they were making a video and Diddy said, you know what would be really cool is if you had me getting put on a cross, like getting crucified. It was Diddy's idea. So they draw this thing up. Diddy gets put on a cross like he's Christ. Bad form, right? If you're not smart enough to know this is going to offend half of the planet, you maybe ought to. But he figured it out before the video went. He called him and said, hey, you know what, man, cut out that one scene and he said, no, man, that thing's already done. And he ran the video anyway. And that's why Diddy showed up with his goons and walked in there and hit the dude in the head with a champagne bottle. And none of this is alleged. You notice I'm not holding up my mug or singing, right? This is not allegedly. This happened.
Yeah.
And he got for it, just like you would have. Assault with a deadly weapon, and you brought 3 goons, 1 day of anger management.
Yeah.
Oh, God. You'd have gotten 7 years in prison, bro.
Easily.
You hit a guy in the head with a champagne bottle, that's 7 years, man. All day long.
Yeah.
And you could say, well, he's never been in trouble before. Of course he has. By that time, he had been in all kinds of trouble before. The reason that Diddy got to where he got to is because either they were paying off cops or they were doing whatever, but this guy kept dodging bullet after bullet after bullet. If they had busted him anywhere along the line, if he had gotten hemmed up for the Natanya Rubin shooting at the bar on the end of last century, the one that Shine Barrow went to prison for, if Diddy had done 5 years in prison, you realize he would have got out, had a massive career, and probably had a shot at life. Prison would have taught that fool some stuff, and he would have gone away for an honorable crime. He could have done easy time in there. But when the system fails to put behind bars, they gain momentum. I got more cases than anyone on earth, dude, because I can talk my ass off. And I would get up there and do the I'm so sorry thing. And I got a bunch of, and I'm white, which at the time, it doesn't help now. I promise you, man. Now it's the wrong complexion to get sentenced. I'm
Yeah.
not being racist. I'm keeping it real. That you pull a bowstring far enough and they realize you've been screwing over every black dude, they don't just, the bowstring doesn't come back. It goes farther in the opposite direction. The day I got sentenced for my pew-pews, the guy that went in before me got sentenced for pew-pews. The second time around, it was my first. He was black, I was white. He got 28 months for that. I got 96. And he didn't cut a deal. He didn't cheat. He didn't do any of that. I knew his lawyer. We actually shared a lawyer. And she said to me, man, if you were black, I could have you out in under 3 years. That's the environment. I'm happy for him. I'm not, I swear to God, I'm not pissed off at him. But the idea is that chick's supposed to have blinders on. It would be really good if they did. Imagine this. Imagine if you went to court and the defendant was behind a screen. How about if you couldn't see the defendant so that you couldn't make a decision whether or not this guy was guilty as soon as you saw him? Because half of the jury does. I promise.
Yeah.
You go into court. I love you, brother, but you go into court, you're done. You know what I mean? They're gonna see all of this. They're gonna see your sleeves.
Oh yeah.
This dude's a scumbag. Send him away.
Yep. Nope. I'm well aware. Yep.
But I honestly think we could overhaul the legal system and make it so much smarter. I mean, we really could. There's no reason whatsoever that you should have to sit there looking like, and letting them judge you based on what you look like. They tell you not to. What flavor are you vaping? Asks Little Mink.
Oh, it's called custard cookie.
Ooh.
Yep. I've been using that juice for about 3 years now. I've never changed.
No,
it's really good.
I love that.
Yeah.
I do this. There's a thing, and I haven't seen it outside of this city, but it's food grade vape stuff. So if you got blueberry flavored vape, they made it with blueberries. If you got, there's no, it's supposed to be better for you. I have no idea if it is. I pay a hell of a lot of money for it, but it's tasty as hell. I do a blueberry cheesecake.
Oh yeah, cool. So I'm into the dessert.
A long time. Yeah,
I don't like the mentholy, the ice ones. That's too much flavor. And really mine, like I was at Wendy's the other day and I was vaping in my truck and the guy who was flipping the burger came up to the window. He was like, dude, what flavor is that? And I was like, are you serious? You can smell that in there? I mean, this is inside Wendy's with all the burgers and the fry grease, and he could smell my vape. And, but I really don't taste it anymore. I have nicotine added to it. So it's a 12 mil. They only sell 6 and 12, and they don't sell a lot of 12s. And I have them pour out some and add nicotine so it's a 21. Yeah.
Wow. That's insane. You know what I'm doing?
Wow.
Dude. Yeah. I guess that's a wicked strong. That doesn't make your head spin.
And what's crazy, have you ever heard of Zins? The little pouches?
Oh yeah. I know what Zins are.
So like the first time I ever took one of those, I got real dizzy. I was like, oh my God, these things are super strong. And it was just a 3. They make 3s and 6s. And now, because of my nicotine tolerance is so high with the vaping, I could put 2 6s in my mouth. Or even like chewing tobacco, because a lot of people chew up here. It's Montana, right? And but I can't control it in my mouth. But I used to put a chew in, and like I would take it out within a minute. I would have to take it out.
Yeah, the whole room would start spinning.
Yeah.
When I was at the FCI at Victorville, a cop
passion fruit is good. Yeah,
cop screwed up bad. He had a guy that cleaned his office, a dude named Bones, Southsider, and Bones was a good dude. His only job was to clean the cop's office. The guy loses a pair of Prada sunglasses, and he goes over to Bones and he's like, "Just give me the glasses back, and there ain't going to be any problem. I'm not even going to write you up. You lose your job." And Bones is like, "What the F would I do with a pair of Prada sunglasses in prison, you asshat?" And he's drunk. Yeah. He happened to pick a morning where the guy had bought a little moonshine. So they took him to the hole, right? Loses his job, loses his cell. And as the guy's getting ready to leave, in front of the fellas, he comes out with his coffee mug, right? And he takes the top off to like shake liquid out, and the Pradas fall out of his coffee mug in front of everybody in the room, dude. There must have been 30 convicts standing there. And one of the convicts just went, "Bro, you got 24 hours to do the right thing."
Yeah.
Just straight threatened him because the guy's a Southsider, right? The whole freaking yard is Southsiders. So the following morning, Bones is back. He's got his job back, all of this. And he gave Bones a bunch of chewing tobacco, like a half a sleeve of chew. And Bones is like, "I don't chew this stuff." He's like, "You want one?" And I was like, sure. Copenhagen mint or menthol or something like that. And
wintergreen.
I packed the big, like, you know, I'm like, oh, and I'm hiding in there. I don't want anyone to see it. I'm like, I'll chew this stuff and then I'll dry it out, roll it up and sell it. That crap was in my lips 6 seconds, bro. And the room started doing this one and the floor started coming up on me. I felt like I was 6 years old on my first cigarette. I was like, this ain't going to work. This ain't going to work.
It's gnarly, man. It's so gnarly.
You know what I did crazy? I took the rest of the tin, I'm not joking, and I put it on a piece of paper and I stuck it in the window. Now, by the way, folks, window is this wide and about 5 feet tall. So it was in that little space down at the bottom. But I let the whole thing just dry out without dipping it, without doing anything. And boy, oh boy, dude, you talk about a cigarette, you roll that up and hit it, and that first one would absolutely put you sideways. And people don't smoke in prison like they do on the street. It's a little different. It looks like a joint. It's about $6, and you take a hit and you hold it as long as you possibly can.
So gross, man.
It's so gross, dude. It's so gross. You were always vicious about it too. Casper would be out there mocking people. Are you smoking spit out of a cop's mouth?
Yeah, it's disgusting, man.
So you're smoking cop spit. Enjoy that. How is that? So
God,
I'll bring this back to where we actually went off on a tangent. Back to the Diddy verse.
I got some Blake Lively stuff too when we get a chance.
Cool, absolutely want to. Johnny comes out this morning and says to me, "I love my brother." Johnny walks out and he goes, "Hey man, can I ask you a question?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Is Blake Lively the worst person alive?" I'm like, maybe Ryan Reynolds is, but she's coming in at a close second. They're bad people. I mean, really bad people. Just finishing the Diddy verse real quick, because I'm probably not going to want to update this on my channel. Look, all of these filings, there's supposed to be 10 new filings that are going to drop. Busby has alleged that he's got 10 more that are about to drop. I'm alleging that he said 120, right? And it was going to be 30 days before those dropped. I would really like to know all of those people that are paying him off. You got any idea the cash Busby's got to be making? Now,
oh my God.
I'm a Busby fan. I've been super open about that. But I'm a little bummed out that dude still hasn't filed so that he can be on the docket in the Southern District of New York. And being the skeptic that I am, if you don't do that soon, you're looking like you don't even really care about any of these lawsuits, and you're just trying to settle as many of these out of court as you can. I mean, this dude's going to be a billionaire by the time this is done, right? He's so wealthy now, it's stupid. He booked the largest. He booked the largest settlement last year in the U.S. He's a beast. He really is good at what he does.
Yeah. Was he Alec Baldwin's attorney, or was that Agnifilo?
No, I think it was Agnifilo that and I could be wrong. Someone could check that, but I think it was Agnifilo. And you know, Agnifilo's wife is a huge attorney. Do you know that?
I did know that.
Believe what she does. She handles human tea stuff. Like that's the kind of how do you guys go home at night and have a conversation? Hey, how was Rick? I'm working with Diddy. He's innocent. I mean, how is his wife not going? You're not getting another look at me until this guy is locked up for the rest of his life. You know,
a look at me
for real. You ain't even looking at this thing, man. You ain't even looking at this.
Unless I'm on the commode, then you can look at me.
I'm never gonna live that down.
No.
The commode.
And you got your britches on and your trousers.
Trousers.
Yeah.
Trousers and a That's a question that I've always asked. How old do you have to be before the pants you wear become trousers?
Yeah.
Some men certainly say it, but you know, there had to be a point at which they went from pants to trousers.
Yeah.
Spyro. That's right. Thank you. Cooter by the Lake. Spyro. That's Jay-Z's attorney. And possibly a guy more bereft of morals and scruples, in my humble opinion, than even Mark Agnifilo. Spyro's unbelievable. He comes out and does these multimedia shows to tell the whole world why his client can't be guilty. It's a hustle for the rich, guys. This is all we're talking about. This is what 2025 is. This is the entitlement that these people feel. And then we'll go right into Blake Lively's entitlement because it's perfect. It's a perfect segue. But they don't feel like they have to go to court. Why would I have to go to court? I'm rich.
Yeah.
I really hope that everybody that's predicting this has nailed it. And I hope that in the next 48 hours, we see the lawsuit start to drop against Sean Carter. I really want to see that. Trousers and commode go hand in hand.
They do.
It's too funny, man.
That's my boy Kyle. He's watching at work right now. That's funny.
Yeah. They go hand in hand.
Yeah.
Thank you, man.
Kyle, he sent me I texted him. I was like, man, that's cool, because unbeknownst to me, we got like 10 feet of snow yesterday. And yeah, but I mean, not quite 10 feet, but it was super cold. And, my daughter did stay home for a snow day, and it's Montana. So for it to be a snow day in Montana, it has to be pretty rough. But I didn't go out yesterday. So when I took her to school this morning, there was this much snow on my truck, and it was 16 below zero. So I was like, oh my God. Yeah. So I remote started my truck 3 times to get the ice melted on my window, just so I could remove it. I had to, scrape the snow off first, and then the ice, and then, took her to school. But anyway, so I thought he was at home. I was like, oh, that's cool. You got to watch the show. I go, you'll probably be at work, the rest of the time, but yeah, try to check in every once in a while. And he's like, no, I'm at work. And he sent me a picture with his feet up on his bench. And I was like, oh, this fool
life
right
is
here.
Good.
Yeah, life is good for Kyle, man.
I'll tell you something about the only ski competition that I ever had canceled due to cold was in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. And at first they postponed it and said, we're going to put it off. We just need a couple of days. And the temperature actually dropped more. And it was, the snow was like boilerplate. It was so friggin' hard. It was like, if you fall on this, and by this, I was never good anyway. I was good enough to compete, but I wasn't one of those guys who was going to win anything. So on days like that, I was in the lodge going, I'm not going. I don't care how freaking warm it gets. I'm not doing this. Like, it better be 40 degrees or I'm staying in the lodge. And then, no joke, they interlodged us. It was so cold that they locked people inside because they were afraid. It was brutal with the wind chill. It was like 160 or something below. It was the most heinous thing in the world. You could go outside with a cup of coffee and throw it in the air, and it would come down snow. For real.
What?
We did it all night. We would go out with hot water and throw it in the air. If we had cameras, it would have been viral, but those was long before. Cameras were this big.
Yeah, that's crazy. That is so crazy. So
bring it up.
Yeah, so Law and Crime Network yesterday had a video called 11 bombshell texts exposed in Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni lawsuit. I didn't get a chance to watch the whole thing, but I guess there's some really telling texts in there that just proves her to be a liar and an extortionist, and along with her husband, and it's just kind of remarkable. But I'd like to play maybe just a little intro to this video, and then we could just do some reaction to it.
I love it.
All right, let's do it. Add it to this.
Important to fool. He's Canadian. Yeah, Ryan Reynolds is Canadian. If he catches a felony behind this, or they could absolutely deport this dude back to. Canada's not nice to felons. They don't let us go over there.
No, they don't. No, they don't.
They're vicious with it. They will stop you at the border.
From actor Ryan Reynolds. And the argument is, does it put this whole story in a new context? You see, while Baldoni is accused of sexually harassing Reynolds' wife, Blake Lively, he claims he was bullied and was ostracized with false allegations. So we're going to go through some of what was just posted on a new website launched by Baldoni's team. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime.
Yeah, pause that for 2 seconds, just because it saves us from any kind of hassle, right? Look, so
why don't we just go?
This guy went completely the opposite direction. So most people say, I'm not going to talk about it. My lawyer will release this. There'll be a statement in the press. Baldoni went, I'm a bad dude. Tell you what, here's everything I got in my correspondence between Ryan Reynolds and myself, and between Blake Lively and myself. He went for the more information is better than less information, and just dumped everything he had out. And he put up a website so that anyone that wanted to go and take a look at this could, which is I think it's genius. I really think it's genius.
Yeah, I'm gonna go find that website right now.
Kim says, love Jesse Walker.
What's that?
I said, Kim says, love Jesse from Law and Crime Network. He's killing
Oh yeah,
it.
me
He's
too.
absolutely killing it.
I got it. I got the website.
Cool.
Let's just we can all do this together.
Yep.
Amended complaint, timeline of relevant events. Good for him, man. Put it up.
This is genius, man. This is absolutely genius. And then what he does is countersues Blake Lively and her husband for $400 million. And here's the deal, folks. If it's a he said, she said, that's okay, right? That's always going to happen. He says she wasn't treated well on the set. He says there's nothing wrong with that. This kind of proves it one way or the other. What's the big deal? It's Hollywood idiots yelling at each other. This dude, Ryan Reynolds, allegedly went to all of the places like his management company and his agent and all of these people and said stuff like, you're working with a sexual predator, right? Now you're starting to get into some really nasty stuff.
Yeah, that's crazy. Like I'm just gonna find some stuff that we can.
Well, what you're gonna find a lot of this. So if you're not familiar with this, if we're bringing you up to speed on it, Blake Lively sued over a movie that she did with Baldoni, and the movie, ironically, is about domestic violence. So it's kind of there's a theme in the film, and they want to carry that through. So her coming out and saying that she was, fat shamed, that she was in a hostile working environment where she was sexually harassed, basically. And when you read the correspondence between these people, that's just not what you read. There doesn't seem to be any of that in any of the conversations. In fact, it really kind of looks more like he was really a good dude. When she talked about her weight. Go ahead.
Yeah, and remember she because they were saying, well, he's calling her sexy and this, but she's the one who actually introduced the word sexy into their
conversations,
into their conversations, into their like whatever you want to call it. And so he was just using the terminology that she had been using to help her feel good and comfortable and better, and now she's twisting it around to be something nefarious, or him being obsessed with her body or whatever she's doing.
And how about putting up the timestamps and the days that you get this stuff? And I mean, he just lays out everything he's got. And so I'm sure that you've heard, but I'm trying to remember what Baldoni's attorney's name is. Like, it's escaping me right now, but Baldoni's attorney is kind of a hitman. Like, this is a very serious, high dollar mouthpiece, and Blake Lively just simply does not want to sit down with him. Plain and simple. Yeah. So she says, "Yeah, I'll do a deposition, but I'm not going to do a deposition with that attorney." And you know what? It doesn't work that way at all. It's one more. Every time we turn around, there's some entitled prick, who thinks that because of their money and their fame, they shouldn't have to deal with any of the BS that goes on in regular life. So that lawyer's mean. Do you have a nicer lawyer that can depose me? Who are these people, dude?
Yeah, dude.
Do you know how much fun that would have been? Look, yeah. I think I can say this, right? My prosecutor's name was Megan. She was the meanest person on planet Earth. I'm not kidding you. There's nothing in the world I would have liked more than to say, I don't want her to prosecute me. She's just not nice. Do you have somebody else in the office maybe that doesn't hate me, or doesn't hate my wife at the time? She was not very fond of my ex.
Oh.
Just hired an intimacy coordinator who I love.
Yeah, well, I'll feel good. I can meet her when we start. Thank you.
Is this about the weight loss stuff?
Yeah. Yep.
So the first time she brings up weight loss in this, Baldoni comes back to her and says, "Hey, relax. You got nothing to worry about." I mean, he does what you wish every guy in the world would do if you bring up a body issue. I'm sorry, there's no other way to put it. He said, "You look fantastic now," right? What difference does it make? The last thing in the world you need is this stress about that, right?
Yeah, and like even like this, like right here, this is her. She's using words like flirty and yummy, like let she wants to infuse more of her language into the script. And her words were like, so I'll be more flirty and yummy in the scene, and she's introducing this into their world and into their conversation.
Right.
And
this isn't him being inappropriate. This is her talking about the
and
character.
just think about it. He's new on the scene, right? He, pretty new, but he, he's part owner of Wayfair Productions or whatever, the movie, the production company. And Blake Lively's been around forever. Of course, her husband's a superstar, double A list. You think he's gonna come into their world and be a creep?
Yeah, exactly.
Because he has no power. He has no power. Yeah. Now, if he was super powerful, then maybe I believe it a little bit more, unless he showed proof that she's lying, which was what he's doing now. But he's basically a nobody.
Yeah. No, he's definitely not the one wielding power in this situation.
I mean, to us, he's someone, he's got a production company in Hollywood. That's amazing. But there's 1,000 production companies in Hollywood. I used to be a key grip. I was a key grip for a bunch of people. Roger Corman was the biggest one. He's the B movie king back in the day.
Yeah, I know Roger
Corman. Like Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, movies like that. He's
literally one of the kings of B films.
Yeah, I was a grip for him for a while, and
it's cool as hell, man.
Oh yeah. I've been in a couple movies too. Kira's War, which was Cage T 3000. The working title was called Kira's War, and then Edge of Darkness Part 2. But both B movies. Yeah.
Yeah, nothing, dude. B movies I love B movies.
Yeah, if you're a grip on the set and they need someone to be. I was a prison guard in a female prison in outer space. If they need someone to play.
God, I have dreams like that.
Yeah.
You have a car in the Marlboros? Would have made the whole dream come true.
Yeah. But anyway,
that's a prison joke.
but you get what I'm saying.
I do.
I mean, maybe what I'll do is I'll run through all these tonight, and then I'll have a more unconvoluted.
There's a section in there. This is where it starts to get really, really weird. Is that once Ryan Reynolds kind of gets injected into this, then it starts getting really, really weird. And the things that you'll see when it gets to Ryan Reynolds, you'll have 4 large segments that go across. So it'll look like screenshots from a camera 4 wide. And when you get to that, just the language that this cat uses is downright creepy and weird. He talks about, I would tattoo my face to the perineum of the line supervisor for the film. Your taint?
Yeah.
You want your taint attached to somebody's body? Now you're going to come out and say it's a hostile work environment where he was saying creepy things? You're the king of creep. That's a weird thing to say, man. It really is. And then he ends his correspondence with, I adore you. They also name drop to scare this guy. So this is what kind of blew all this up. Allegedly, Sony Pictures wanted Blake Lively to have a far bigger part of this. Right. So she started to rewrite some of the scenes. Now, if you're making a movie, you don't want someone coming in and rewriting your stuff. The star of rewriting is a bad idea. It almost always is. And Ryan Reynolds reaches out and says, you know what? She really has a great style in her writing. And guess who thinks so too? Taylor Swift. He starts name dropping all of these really big names that also think that her work is fantastic. It's like he's threatening the guy with all of these famous people. And nevertheless, he bends over backwards to try to be cool. He just continually tries to be a nice guy and say, all right, work with you or whatever. And they end up just completely painting a picture of this guy to be the world's biggest scumbag. Like they forgot all of these text messages exist. I think that the smear campaign they put on this guy could get the guy deported. I'm not even being funny. It's pretty damn ugly stuff.
That would be crazy, man. They really have gotten themselves. I'm sure these are really interesting, but I don't want to just like fumble through it.
No, definitely. And some of it's interesting. A lot of it is just background that shows that these individuals are not beefing with one another. This isn't a hostile work environment. And that's the claim.
She's
right?
saying it's from day one.
From day one. From the word go, this is a hostile work environment. And that's not what's happening. Quite the opposite. In fact, I think, and this is my story and I'm sticking to it. This guy's toxically jealous. This is a guy that can't handle his jealousy. Tomorrow we'll show you a couple of clips from both the Wolverine movie and clips from the Deadpool film where he openly writes scenes in that don't even make sense solely for the purpose of mocking Baldoni. And we'll bring that to you tomorrow. It's ugly stuff.
Yeah, I heard about that. He called the character, he had a name for the character.
Bitch.
Like, yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Dude, have you seen It Ends With Us? Have you watched the movie yet?
I can't. Anything modern. Have you seen it?
Yeah, I have. But see this dude right here?
Yes.
He actually plays the her childhood friend who she's truly in love with. And but I didn't realize how big this dude is. This is a big dude, man. Anyway, that was just my own little.
He's a big dude who is absolutely obsessed with fitness and health.
Yeah.
If you ever get a chance to see the dude without a shirt on, he's done some crunches. Is that right? He spent a decent amount of time doing crunches. I promise you.
You like pictures of him with his shirt off?
Oh, yeah, I'm not gonna lie to you.
I'm just kidding.
I'm not saying we're getting together, but it's a bit of a man crush.
No, I know.
I started out hating this guy because straight up, I'm gonna believe the woman until I got reason to not believe the woman. And I came out of this. I started this out being very much pro Blake Lively.
And I've always been a Blake Lively fan.
Yeah. Well, I've
always been a fan of hers.
I always thought that she got trashed, but I thought it was a campaign to trash her. And I really believed that. But I'm coming to realize that if you're really kind of a piece of shit, the world finds out about it. I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but that's really what's begun happening. There's this, all of the allegations from her past. No, you get all of the allegations from her past are about her being a shrew. And I have heard people that have met her that said she's not particularly bright. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. This is what people say about her. I'm not saying it, but she's not particularly bright. And she is hyper focused on fame, on money, and defers to Ryan Reynolds on everything because he's considered kind of the brains of the operation. And the guy's so wealthy, it's stupid. He started Mint Mobile, the telephone company, ran some really funny ads, got a lot of people signed up. And I think it was his intent from the word go to build it up and sell it. And he did. That $400 million lawsuit, you hear lawsuits and you go, that's just $400 million. They could pay it. they could actually pay that lawsuit. So this could be devastating for the two of them. And how many Hollywood studios after this are going to be fired up to take a run at a Blake Lively film?
Oh, even if she won, even if it proves that she was right and that it was hostile, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So she screwed herself on this. I'm telling you, she screwed her and her husband on this. And Ryan screwed himself too on this because he's got a ton of fans, man. Every male and female, we all love Ryan Reynolds. Well, used to, right? Like when I hear about this stuff about Ryan Reynolds, I'm like, what the heck? Because he's like a bro, you know what I mean? He's got that bro vibe, and it's just crazy. And he's not a bro; he's a Hollywood elite. That's a whack job. That's that tries to use his power to get over on people. He's trying to ruin this dude's life. This dude, did you see the dude hit him? Well, you probably didn't because you didn't see the movie, but at the premiere, they stuck them all in the basement, right? Well, I seen the pictures of Baldoni with his family, and they look like a super loving family.
Yeah, happy as hell.
You know what I mean? They're all just cheering him on. This is one of his first big projects. He's in the movie, he produced the movie, he's directing the movie. It's one of those things, man. Like there's in all the family he had with him. Look at Lively and what's his name? Reynolds. None of their family was there. You know, they're just there with a couple of their Hollywood friends.
Correct.
You know,
Taylor down there for the premiere. And
yeah. There's no way this fool did anything but treat her with respect on that movie, man. I've come to that conclusion.
Fact. And this is a
There's
really
no way.
good comment.
It's common sense, man.
Katrina says, I'd never heard of Blake until I saw her on an interview where her and her friend were being a couple of mean girls to the interviewer. So I haven't liked her since the second I heard of her, really. You know, that interview's out there. Maybe we'll pull it up tomorrow. That's because that interview is telling for a lot of reasons. When she did that interview, and she is
I'm gonna have a ton of stuff tomorrow. Yeah.
Yeah, she's a shrew in that interview. She is not kind. It's an ugly look, right?
I've seen it.
It was so ugly that the woman said, I'm not gonna release this. Right.
Yeah.
I'm just going to get in trouble with the studio, and then Blake Lively will never work with me ever again. So as a reporter, she said, I'm not going to release it. She waited and then has recently released it and has been accused of releasing it because Baldoni forced her to do so. And I saw her interviewed and she said, no, I just kind of got a little sick and tired of hearing everything she was saying. You know, I mean, the woman's lying. This is who she really is. Get a look at it. And it's ugly. It's not.
Yeah. And most of her female co-stars are coming out too, and they're like, yeah, don't you remember the interview I did with her where she was like being mean to me and we were pretending it was just funny, you know? Yeah. And you know, they're like, no, it wasn't. That we were just doing that, so we were just trying to make light of it during the interview, so it didn't look like we hated each other, but we hate each other.
Yeah.
So,
I feel your pain. I feel your pain, Kristen Melinda. I really do. I feel your pain. And Paula D. Penley sums it up. Geez, is there anyone out there in Hollywood that is not tainted? No, doesn't seem that way, does there? Now, key grips, right? Makeup artists. There are good people just making a living in show business. But it's the elitists, right? The people that do the least amount of work and make the most amount of money that seem to feel that none of this stuff should apply to them. Right?
Well,
apply to them.
What's crazy is, I basically grew up there. I grew up just south of there, but I was there all the time, and I worked in Hollywood. And I knew some stars when they were waiters and waitresses. I mean, literally waiters and waitresses. And and I know tons of stars that never made it, or they made it to some little things here and there, and they are just generally good people when they start out, and something happens, and they forget where they come from. Not everyone, of course. That would be dumb, but
most of them, though. I mean, honestly,
most of them. You know who was really cool? Who I used to see it. That there's a hot dog place called Pink's that I used to go to. Yeah, yep. It's on the corner of it's on the corner of Melrose, but Melrose and Highland.
It's an institution.
Yeah, it's an institution. I used to see Kiefer Sutherland there all the time. I used to go there on Tuesday nights when I'd pick up my. She became my sister-in-law, and I got in a car accident. Right, there was Sorry, I'm digressing, but I was going to Pink's. I had drinking a 40-ounce of Old English 800. Playing Risk with my roommates.
What's wrong with you?
I don't know. And I was going to pick her up, and this cop was pulling into Pink's, and I T-boned him I had a Volkswagen Bug. It was all lowered, with surf rack on top. T-boned him. And he's like, oh man, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done that. He's like, hey, you've been drinking? I was like, man, I literally had one beer. That was it, but it was a 40 at Ole E. But anyway, I didn't get any trouble for it or anything. And I was going to sue the sheriff's department because it was his fault, but I ended up not doing it. And but anyway, that was another Pink story. But yeah, I see Kiefer there. Kiefer was always super cool, and he's old Hollywood,
Yeah.
His dad, of course, Sutherland, super huge. But I don't know what happens, man.
Christopher Walken is a fairly cool example of how some of the people in Hollywood live, because Christopher Walken doesn't leave where he's at. He also does not take a cell phone with him anywhere. He doesn't own one unless he's filming so that his family can get a hold of him. But when he's at his house, he does not own one of these. The people who seem to, and he's been with the same woman forever, right? He's got a family. The ones that seem to stay married forever, the ones that seem to don't get wrapped up in this stuff, get the hell out of there. Right? And they step into Hollywood, they film what they're going to film, and then they step the hell back out of Hollywood and kind of, shake it off, because there is something about the town. I mean, for real, I've done a bunch of different things in my life that made me a lot of money, and then I would spend it faster than I could make it. But I've made a lot of money a few times in my life. And one of the times was with an OT8, a guy from Scientology that was an operating Thetan level 8 Scientologist. But he lived in Glendale, and I would do a lot of work with him, and we would just hang out in Hollywood. We would go out and party in Hollywood. And we had, at the time, I think we were making like 20 grand, 27 grand a week. It was stupid money. But there's something about that town. Like, I'd be at home and everything was good, and I'd go out there and we'd start to party, and I would get in trouble. Like almost every time out there, something bad happened. There's something about that town that's just different. It really is. And I'm not a fan.
Yeah.
I'm not.
And it smells like piss.
Yeah. Well, no, there's a lot to be said for that. The city stinks. But there are some landmark places, the whiskey and, all those old clubs where, the greatest bands in the world used to just go and play on Friday nights or whatever. But I don't know. Yeah, I think you outgrow it. You get to a point where it's just not all that impressive anymore, man.
And here's what happens with me. Like I'll go home and I'll try to relive or recreate the feeling I had as a kid there in the 80s. And like when all those bands were playing there, the Troubadour, the Club Lingerie, the Whiskey, all those clubs, I try to recreate it, and I go to those places and everything's changed. The Roxy, scene. Yeah. The Viper Room scene. And the Viper Room used to be called the Central. And it was a great place to go. And before Johnny Depp bought it. And I was saying something.
That they all change. You go back and it's just not the same anymore.
Right. But I had another train of thought on it. But anyway, and the feeling's just not there. Everything's changed. Even the sidewalk, they somehow have pushed the buildings back. And I don't know what they did, but when they put the subway in, because now there's a subway that's underground subway that goes from North Hollywood through Hollywood all the way to downtown LA.
What?
Yeah, that wasn't there when I went to prison, and then when I got out of prison, there was a subway there.
I didn't even know that there was a subway there.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah, it's a trip. So somehow they've redone the whole town, and I just don't get that same feeling like I used to, and it really stinks because in like the late 80s and in the early to mid 90s, like when Quentin Tarantino first made his splash with Reservoir Dogs. And True Romance and Pulp Fiction. Those were good times. That's when I was a grip. I didn't work on Pulp Fiction, but my one of my roommates did, and he used to bring home a working copy of Pulp Fiction every night of the new scenes that they were filming. Yeah, it was so cool. It was so cool, man, and it was hard to make sense of it at the time, but now I've seen it a million times. But it's just changed.
You know what? If that movie came out any other year, you know what that was up against for Best Picture? Forrest Gump.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
For real. I mean, any other year that takes, Best Picture, but that's what happens.
Oh, and Legends of the Fall came out that year too. Legends of the Fall was a big movie.
Well, and in today's day and age, Pulp Fiction probably would have won. But back then, the Academy, if there was a really nice message and a really tough message, they were probably going to go with the nice one. But it doesn't really work like that anymore. It's But I think the moral of this story, right, for all parties is we're just sick of this shit. Honestly, it's disgusting. The lifestyle that these people live and that we've paid for, I'm just not down with keeping the party going anymore. You know what I mean? Yeah. I don't feel like giving my money to these people so that they can hurt kids, right? And SA women and drug people and film stuff and all the crap that these people have allegedly been doing since Hollywood started. You know, we bring up Fatty Arbuckle a lot. You know the Fatty Arbuckle story?
Of course.
Yeah. I mean, for those who don't know, Fatty Arbuckle was a huge comedic actor back in the day, and they didn't call him Fatty because he was thin, right? This was a huge dude. He was a mountain of a human being, and because he was, of course, a famous Hollywood star, he was hanging out with women that weighed a fifth of what he did. And during a raucous party night, he was violating a woman with a champagne bottle, and it ended up killing her. So these kind of weird, crazy crap things that have been going on in Hollywood, there's nothing new to this. We know that during The Wizard of Oz, the mayors were going in there and injecting Dorothy so that she could go out and work. You know what I mean? That woman was addicted to dope. We watched that movie with our kids, and she was literally, they had to go and get dope for her to bang.
Yeah. There's old Fatty.
Tough luck, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's him. That's where he looked more. By the end of his career, he was really, really beefy. That he's starting to get bigger there. By the end, he was somewhat massive. But the scandal kind of destroyed his career. I mean, but Hollywood protects their own. Do you know that when John Belushi overdosed on a concoction of he was doing a speedball. It was a mixture of coke and heroin that took him out.
Yep.
Do you know that the first autopsy did not say that? First autopsy said that he died choking because they didn't want the story to get out. And that was sort of the end of that era. The end of the era where you could do stuff like that. So the story was out for a couple of days that he had died choking or whatever, kind of like a Mama Cass thing where he choked on a ham sandwich or whatever. And then the truth came out that it was a drug overdose or whatever. I don't think anyone's going to protect Hollywood anymore. I don't think that this kind of crap is going to continue, man.
Yeah. What is a grip? Let me answer that real quick. Okay. So basically a grip is someone who is like an all around guy who sets stuff up. So like if so there's a key grip when you see the thing where it says key grip and there's a name and then there's like a list of grips. The right. Key grip is the boss. The grips are under the key grip. And basically, so say they're filming a scene and there's like, say I'm filming a scene in this room right here, but there's a glare coming in from the window that's affecting the way, that's hitting me in the face. They'll be like, the director of photography will be like, hey, Casper, I need to get rid of this glare. So I have to figure out how I'm going to get rid of that glare for the scene. So I'll take a couple of C stands, which are like just these stands that you can do anything with. I'll take a couple of C stands and I'll get some Dubatine. And what Dubatine is, it's this black cloth that absorbs sunlight. So I'll hang that somewhere where that sunlight is coming through into the scene, and that black cloth will absorb that sunlight. It's called Dubatine. And so you just do stuff like that, like, hey, the electrician's having a hard time getting his generator over to here. Send over a couple of grips, and they'll help. The electrician. They just kind of do anything. Right. It's a great gig.
They sort of they assign grips to certain parts of the production, right? So you'll have a sound grip, or you'll have a lighting grip, or whatever.
Yeah. Well, the grip. Yeah. Yep. They will do that. Yep. And did you know? And you probably know this, because you've been in on some productions that when they you always see that they go action. They don't ever say action. it's not a thing. They say sound speed. Yeah, they say sound speed. And sound roll. Speed, and then yeah. So when I first started, I was like, why are they say that's a trip? They say sound speed. They don't say action.
Yeah, I never heard it. The director that that directed the film I was in was George Roy Hill, the guy that did the Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. He did The Sting. He's kind of a big deal in Hollywood. But yeah, he didn't say it. He would go. He would say sound, and then he would go roll.
Yeah,
and he also didn't say cut. He'd say stop.
Yeah, stop.
And the first time he said it, I was like, the hell was that? Like I thought for sure I was getting a haircut, but
yeah. And then another term, and it's funny, they have movie sets, they have lots of different names for different things. So like a regular light bulb is called a practical. A clothespin is called a C47. There's like a C47. So you don't say, hey, I need some clothespins, to hang up the dubatine. You say C47. It's like it's a clothespin. They have
That's
like cool, super cool names for everything. And then if they need the set to be quiet, say I'm over at craft services, which is like catering. If I'm at craft services, and we're all making a ruckus or laughing and they're filming and we don't know it, instead of saying, hey, you guys be quiet, they'll just say settle. And just when someone says settle, everyone has to shut up. If they go settle, and then it just gets quiet instantly. It's the rule. You got to. So,
had you seen the clip of film of Batman going off on one of the grips in the? It's the worst thing ever. The guy who's the guy that played Batman?
Christian Bale. That one.
Christian Bale, dude. Bale goes off on a grip. It is the most disturbing thing you've ever seen. He is just. They had a grip in a. They're going to obviously green screen or put something in afterwards. So the big monster's wearing like cardboard. He's a representation of it or whatever. But he berates this guy for so long that I know you personally, right? I know you well. 40 seconds into it, you'll be gritting your teeth so bad. You'll be going, I was on that set, dude. I'd have walked over there and ear hold that SOB, bud. Straight to the throat. Yeah. He's the most disrespectful person I've ever seen. I was a fan, dude. It's an ugly clip. You could definitely find that one out there, but it is not. I'm not find it. He's just so. He's had a couple of epic meltdowns. He had one with Tom Cruise, which is a lot of fun. If you ever heard the two of them cursing at each other on the phone, that's a good clip. Because you gotta hate Tom Cruise.
Who's really good on sets, and I've heard this from other grips, and he actually hangs out with grips, is Keanu Reeves. Like most of his friends, of his friends are like production guys and grips, and
he seems to have ditched Hollywood. I mean, he's certainly like wrapped up in it, because of he's been in some of the biggest franchises in history, some of literally the biggest franchises. But he seems to he takes public transportation. You see him all of the time, just being really cool with fans. Like he doesn't care at all about any of that garbage, or at least that's how it comes across. And I think that's the reason that you don't find a lot of Keanu haters. You really don't, which is shocking because he's not great with accents. Let's be really honest, dude. The Devil's Advocate. When he plays in the Devil's Advocate with
the Southern accent.
Did you know that changes 8 times?
There's a college that has a Keanu Reeves acting course. It's called Keanu Reeves. It's an actual course. I can't remember the name of the school. It's in North Carolina or South Carolina, but yeah.
I dig that, man. I really do. I dig that. I'll tell you something else about him. He's not a show off, right? At all. And there's a lot of people that are. Like John Mayer has probably one of the best vintage Rolex watch collections on earth. He's super into collecting just old Rolexes, a lot of Submariners, every reference number you could think of. Keanu Reeves has a drop dead collection of watches, but you really got to work to see him. Like he obviously likes them, but he's not trying to show anything off. You always see like little bits of them hanging out of sleeves or whatever. He doesn't seem to try to front much at all. He has a sponsored watch he's supposed to wear all the time because of the John Wick movies. There's a watch that John Wick wears in the films, and he paid actually to wear that watch, but he's got a fat collection. I dig Keanu Reeves, and I've liked him, since back when he was when he did Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Really,
really early days of him. Probably
that had to have been right after River's Edge.
I'm not sure if he did which one he did first. River's Edge might have been first. They're about the same age.
River's Edge was first.
Yeah, awesome. If you've not seen that, people, I promise it's worth going out to see. Kim says he's a unicorn. I'd like to believe that there are more unicorns in Hollywood than we think. Bruce Willis apparently was very much that way. Bruce didn't really care much for any of that BS. You know, when he was younger and he did moonlighting and all that, he was he was partying and doing the thing, and then he sort of became a grown up. But there are people who never seem to get that memo. You know,
Yeah,
a lot of ugliness.
they get the exact opposite memo. Yeah, I'm looking for that Christian Bale thing. I can find his apology. I can't. I mean, if I searched for it, I could probably find it. But
this is also. Have you ever seen the photos where he doesn't touch or hold a female while taking the photo? That's respect. It is. It's also smart. I will, and I'm nothing, but I will not touch you in a photo. I just will not do it. It's because I know what'll happen. You know, somebody that really is your, they love your show and this and that. 2 years later, they'll say, "See this picture? Tommy was holding my ass when this picture was taken." Right? It's honest to God. You know, the guy that is catching a lot of crap now. Show me the money. What's his name?
Cuba Gooding Jr.
Cuba Gooding Jr. Cuba Gooding Jr. came out. He's been hemmed up now for groping women, for harassing women, and he's actually gone all the way to court and lost. Right? He's had lawsuits on this, a bunch of them. And the first time it happened, I was still a Cuba Gooding Jr. fan, and he came out and he said, "You know what? 60 times a day, somebody comes up and says, 'Hey, man, can I take a picture with you?' He said, and I put an arm around them. I put my arm around their waist. I get the picture taken." Now, afterwards, video came out that showed him putting more than his arm around a chick. He's a creep. But
yeah,
his argument in the beginning, I didn't think. My takeaway from that was, I swear to God, man, I'm not going down that road. I'm not going down that road. If people go, "Hey, can I take a picture with you?" Sure, but I'm going to stand that far away from you when you take a picture with me. It's just too dangerous. You know what I'm saying? It really is.
Yeah,
that's absolutely a fact. By the way, all of his stunt doubles get watches, motorcycles, things like that. He by all accounts is a really, really classy dude. Kim says Moonlighting was funny as hell. You remember that show?
Absolutely, with Sybil Shepherd and Bruce Willis.
Yeah, that show. This is a funny story. That show, they filmed the pilot, they put it on. They filmed 6 episodes or something for the first season, and they got canceled. And there was a letter writing campaign from fans that peppered the station so badly that when they first came back for the second season, they came back and said, "You know what? This show had been canceled." And then they counted off like the millions of letters or whatever they said that had been written in. "Thank you for saving our show." That just goes to show you that sometimes people in Hollywood are stupid, right? They looked at that and went, "Yeah, this thing sucks. We're not gonna run with this." And the fans were like, "What the hell's my show, you jackwagon?"
Yeah.
It certainly helped his career a lot more than it helped Sybil Shepherd's. But again, you talk about a classy dude. Years later, when it all comes out, they hated each other. She was such a shrew to him through all of the filming, and she badmouthed the crap out of him, and he never said a word. Like, he never came out and said, let me tell you what that chick did, this, and this. He was just a class act. But I don't think there's a lot of them left.
My friend Wendy used to babysit for him and Demi Moore when Rumor was like a baby. And I would go pick her up at their house. I never met him, never got a chance to meet him, but I would be sitting out in their driveway waiting for her to come out. Yeah.
He's in bad shape. I feel really bad about that.
Yeah, me too.
Bruce Willis was probably my favorite actor of my generation of growing up. I loved Bruce Willis. I did. I was always
mine's definitely Christopher Walken and Sean Penn. I used to be a huge Sean Penn fan, but he kind of has gone off the rails, man. I don't know what happened to him.
There's a great meme about that. There's
really?
A really good meme, yeah, where they show him talking about Fidel Castro, and then it clips and he's talking about Maduro, and he's talking about all these communists or whatever. And this guy comes on at the end, it's a black dude, and he goes, "You were Jeff Spicoli, mother effer." And he just got this sad look on his face. He's like, "Dude, what happened, man? You were mother effing Jeff Spicoli, dude. What happened?"
Yeah. Dude.
That is classic. They did that with Star Trek, the original, but
right
unfortunately,
here.
The story written, They did that with Star Trek, the original, but unfortunately, the story writing didn't help for the third season. You know what? One of the greatest Saturday Night Live sketches ever. He, Captain Kirk, was hosting Saturday Night Live, and they do this skit where he shows up for a Trekkie conference, and they got John Lovitz is there, and he's got the big ears on like Spock, and all of these people are dressed as Trekkies, and he comes up to the microphone and he goes, "Thank you for all coming out." He goes, I gotta say, you know, you took a fun show that I did as a lark back in the 60s, like 4 years of my life. You dedicated your whole life to this. It's an epic waste of time. And he points to Lovitz and he goes, "You in the back with the ears. Have you ever kissed a girl?" Dude, the crap he caught for going on Saturday Night Live, like Trekkie fans went nuts.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Funny?
Yeah.
What a great,
super funny.
You ever kissed a girl?
So there was a steady extra on the show Star Trek on the original show. He was a white guy, sat kind of by Lieutenant Uhura or whatever. I can't remember her name. He was my neighbor when I lived in North Hollywood, and I can't remember his name right now, but he used to go to those Trekkie conferences all the time. And I wish I could remember his name. But he was just an extra, but you know, he was famous just for being on Star Trek. You know, he never did anything else.
Did you say blonde hair?
Yeah, blonde hair.
He's the guy that got beamed down to every planet and he never came back.
Yes, that guy. Yeah.
They used to joke about it. They'd say if Kirk, Spock, and Johnson are going down to the planet,
Johnson
ain't coming back.
Yeah.
He
was the tomato can.
Masters or tomato can. You're not coming back, bro. And you're wearing a red shirt too. Not a good sign. You got a red shirt on. Not good. Not a good sign. Yeah. I have an actual shirt that he wore on Star Trek. That's not just a reprint that he signed. That's a shirt that he wore that he wore on Star Trek. Was he a red shirt? See, they get it. The red shirts. If he had a red shirt, he was done. And I know exactly what you're talking about. I used to say to my brother Johnny when I was a kid, dude, he died like 3 episodes ago, man. They would just keep recycling the guy. You know, take Johnson down to the planet. Nope.
Yeah. You know, they get someone they like. They probably, you know, he probably was just an extra in the beginning, and then, like when you work for a temp agency and the company likes you and they were like, "Hey, I want to offer you a full-time job."
Yeah. A lot of those people, like back in the day, you look at like Gilligan's Island, some of those early shows, all of those people made their money going to shows like that. You know, before syndication really started paying people residuals and things, a lot of those people only made money when they were filming. You know, those shows have been going on for half a century, 3/4 of a century now. And, they stopped getting paid on that right after they filmed it. It's pretty sad stuff. But those conventions, I mean, like Gilligan, he didn't really work again, but he didn't have to. Maybe you were famous, but you didn't need a job.
Yeah, and he probably has a nice house in Malibu or whatever because property was cheap. When he had money, he probably, I'm just using him as an example. I don't know if he lives in Malibu or not, but I do know.
But he probably did.
Yeah. My buddy's dad was played Ernest T. Bass on the Andy Griffith Show.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, Howard Morris. Yeah.
No way.
And yeah, such a trip, man. He was also on some Three Stooges episodes and things like that. But he had an amazing palace in Malibu. Yep. It was a palace. And we would just be like, man, what the heck? But he was in some other stuff too. He was in Blazing Saddles. Yeah, just been in some classics, right? But he was
trying to make that movie today.
Oh, you couldn't. Mel Brooks couldn't be a producer director today. But and he was friends with Mel Brooks, and it was a trip, man. It was a trip.
He's like Kenny in South Park. You killed Johnson, you bastards.
Yeah. You killed Kenny. I don't think I can eat another lemon pie. Well, maybe.
Nice. Little Cartman voice.
Yeah.
You know what? I can do no voices.
Maybe.
I can do no voices. You know what? The gay guy from Family Guy. Oh no.
Yeah.
That dude's my favorite. That dude's my absolute favorite. I sadly, I can still watch the cartoons. Like the adult cartoons don't mess my head up. I can watch those. There are so few things that I can watch that are new. But like I don't have any problem with anything animated. I shouldn't say that. Like I tried watching what are the little yellow guys called? Despicable Me or one of those Minions. Yeah, the way they film that's not much different than they edit that so fast. It's like watching a Bond film. But if you watch, the cartoons that don't edit quickly, it doesn't really mess my.
That reminds me, my daughter drew our show a Minion. She wanted to make sure I showed it today.
Nice.
Yeah. And this isn't the good one. She drew a couple really, really good ones. And I was like, well, let me have that one to show the show. And she's like, no, I want to give this one to my teacher. This is just this morning we had this conversation. So she left me this one. She's like, just show him that one. And I was like, okay.
Your daughter is frighteningly cute.
Dude, if you only knew, man.
Like,
huh? She's in kindergarten. She's in kindergarten. I cried the first week I dropped her off because, it's her. She's finding her new little independence and just seeing her mind at work. I sat on the edge of her bed the other day because she put her little diary and her pens all on her desk and she had it all organized because she thinks she's the best organizer in the world. And I just sat on the edge of her bed and looked at it and just cried, man. I'm like, what is happening to me right now? Yep. But yeah, she's changed my life. I have 3 other daughters. I have 4 daughters altogether. And she just gets me, man.
I'll throw this out there. That and no offense intended at all, but we weren't probably great at being humans, much less fathers. You know what I mean? Like I have kids that are older, but it's so different now, right? It's so different now. You get the chemicals and shit out of your life, and all of a sudden it's like that you realize how much stuff like opioids make you forget the things in life that are important. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And I think you're probably tripping really hard because you're so friggin' sober. You got a girl growing up in front of you, and you're actually, coherent enough to pick up the subtleties. The independence. I used to walk Spanx to school when he was in first grade. We bought a house, and there was a 1 mile running track, and at the other side of the running track was his school. So there was a 1/4 mile straightaway, and I would just have to walk that 1/4 mile straightaway with him and drop him off. And I cried for the first 2 weeks. I swear to God, every time I dropped him off, I'd be like, F my life. And I thought, up until then, I thought, it'd be so cool. He's going to be at school. I got all day. I can do this or whatever. And this first time I dropped him off, I thought, oh man, I can't live without the kid in the house. Like the silence was deafening. It really bummed me out.
Yeah. Yeah, when she spends the night at her friend Paisley's house, I just like, I'm like, I can't be, I just don't like her not here, so it's a trip.
If you think you're a softie now, just wait till you have a grandchild. You'll be pudding.
Yeah. I do have a grandson. I haven't even met him yet, so.
Wow, you're a grandfather? Do you know?
Oh yeah,
I'm gonna ride that like Seabiscuit, Grandpa.
I've been a grandpa for 8 years. Yeah, me and that daughter, we've had a falling out. I wasn't a good guy. I went to jail, and she's just having a hard time getting over it. So
you know what?
We're working on it. We're working on it.
I went through that, it was a fairly incredibly reunion when it happened. But it had to happen on her timetable, which was hell. My favorite excuse, you probably remember, but that was my excuse. My excuse was always my daughter. They stole my daughter from me. That's why I do drugs. Like that was my favorite excuse. And after I got sober and everything, and she was back in my life, it was bizarre because, and I also came to realize that if it hadn't been her, I'd have had another really good excuse. Right. But that just was such a good one. No one could ever give you crap about that one. If I said, I got a bad back or whatever, they'd be like, well, you can get into pain management and, you could try acupuncture. But if I went, they stole my kid, everybody just backed off from, and gave me, and that's all I wanted was to be left alone so I could continue to do dope.
Yeah.
Your son will be 6 in a few months.
I am
not prepared. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ready to go to school, man.
Yeah, Hazley just turned 6 on December 29th, and yeah, she's quite the character, man. She's my little terrorist.
Yeah, you gotta love that.
Yeah. So what else is going on? So tomorrow I'll get a bunch of stuff ready for tomorrow. We're gonna get this thing down, man, to where it runs. I mean, it's been good. But it'll be nice to get, I want to have a recovery segment every show if we can, just talk about some recovery stuff. I mean, we kind of always do, integrate recovery into our conversations, but and then whatever you got, we'll figure it out.
No, there's actually about 6 things in the hopper. The last 24 hours on the Hollyweird front. And I should say this because I probably don't say this very often, but if you knew the shit that we can't tell you because there's just no way to chase it down and prove it true. Like we get stuff sent to us constantly, and every once in a while, like the 48-hour thing. We've been leaked allegedly what we're going to see in 48 hours, but I'll tip my hat to the people that are coming out and having the guts to make a 48-hour prediction. I don't have that kind of guts, and I don't want to be the person that's wrong. I love being first, but I don't really want to be the person that's wrong. But wait until you see what's coming down the pike. God,
yeah, there's going to be plenty of stuff to talk about. Yeah.
If this thing blows up, if this actually blows up in the next 48 hours, then we will probably be the Jay-Z show for about 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Whether we like it or not, it's really about to blow up in ways that you can't imagine. Do me a favor. Do you see the people that are saying missing my wrench? Plus to Crochet could use one of those. And I'll tell you who else for sure. James Collins Cares is one of, and Kristen Melinda may be. I'm not trying to pick on any other wrenches, but Kristen Melinda is a beast.
How do I do that?
You click on them, and then it will say you go to where it says channel. Hold on a second. I can't do it from here. Sadly, let me see. Yeah, and then it'll give you an option to scroll down a little further, and it'll say make them a mod.
So I click on them.
Yeah, you're gonna do it from your phone.
Oh, from my phone?
Yeah, do it from your phone. It's always a lot easier to do it from your phone. You can only say allegedly so much, right? Jackie, that's kind of the thing, right? Jackie makes a good point. No, I have no problem whatsoever saying allegedly. If someone else alleges that this was said, I can chase down who allegedly said it. If they come and go, that's BS. Anything I tell you, right? I'll take them right to who has alleged to have said that. That's not a problem. It ends up being a problem. Yeah, turn that volume down. It ends up being a problem when you come out and the things that are being said about Voldemort haven't been alleged in public yet. There are a lot of us content creators who are discussing this behind the scenes, but this has yet to the zit, so to speak, has not popped. This is going to most assuredly become a situation that everything is going to explode at the same time. Paula D. Penley says, these haters just make my soul hurt. Well, I want to cheer you up on this, folks. If we didn't have haters here, do you know what it would mean? For real. It would mean that we're not talking about anything controversial, that we're not pushing the buttons of people in power. Folks don't make videos about what scumbags people are for free. None of these channels are monetized, which means these people get help to trash content creators. If you don't, you got to believe me when I tell you that this is media, right? Most of the media on earth these days comes from TikTok, comes from Facebook, comes from YouTube, because people don't trust the press. And we're just sort of trying to make sure that we stay trusted. The haters are proof that we're over the target. You don't take flack if you're not over the target. And some of these people have been trashing me personally for 3.5 years, not getting paid. Do the math. Light outshines darkness. Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
I still can't figure it out.
Okay. Well, we'll get it figured out. It may be because you have to have the show. You have to have access to the channel on your phone. You may not be accessing.
Hold on. Yeah, I got to be logged. I got to be on my channel. Yep.
There you go. There you go. You know something? Lisa says, I'm not a fan of TikTok. It's really boring. I've done a bunch of shows on TikTok. If you want to go back through and look through the lifeboat to see the TikTok stuff I've done. TikTok has the most intelligent artificial intelligence program on earth. The reason that we're so scared of it in this country is it is more advanced than any other AI. When we were kids, we watched television. We watched commercials, right? Now we watch the internet and the commercials watch us. They're looking and finding out exactly what trips your dopamine, and they'll give it to you. If you start a channel, you'll end up with 30 or 40,000 subs overnight because they want you to come back. Though it's not going to pay anything. You know, I got a lot of friends that have huge TikTok channels that a lot of people see. There's not a lot. It's a very different. And I hate to sound wildly disrespectful, but all of my friends that have TikTok channels failed here first, and then they went there. I'm not a fan of it. I've never even downloaded the app, and I won't. I don't want them taking over my phone. I don't want them watching what I'm doing. And yeah, it's.
I can't find James anywhere on the chat.
Well, he may have already left.
Yeah, he must have.
Let me see.
Okay. Well, Kristen and Crochet got theirs.
You know what? Why am I not seeing James? There he is, James Collins Cares. Yeah, just go up far enough. He left, so he is up there though. Still, I just wanted to make sure I didn't block him because I'm not a smart man.
Well, that's what I thought too. I thought I might have,
but if he was blocked, I don't think I would have seen him. It took him 3 days to find this channel since.
I put links on our other channels to After the Bars Morning Mayhem.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, I did that in the description.
She's picking on the troll. Said it took him 3 days to find the channel. Yeah, well, they're not the brightest bulbs.
Oh, there was a troll on there.
Yeah, there was a troll in here that we got rid of. The one of those cats. Yeah, that's why she was saying the trolls would hurt my heart. There's no reason to let them hurt your heart, people. We're over the target. We're over the target. What
does hashtag FTG mean?
Fuck that guy.
Oh.
Every Friday they would do a show called FTG Friday where they talk about me, my brother, and my fiance, and they say fuck those guys. And that's their basically their whole shtick. And they like the C word. They say that one a lot too. I have not seen anything these fools have done in years because I stopped watching content about myself. I just don't watch when other people talk about me. I know who I am. I don't need other people's opinions. Other people's opinions of me are not my business. And dude, more importantly,
that dude called me a chomo.
Yeah,
dude, I will fuck that dude up, dude.
It's you know what? And 6 dudes that look just like him. I promise you, these guys are cowards.
Dude, I will smash that dude, man.
Yeah, well,
yeah.
It wouldn't be much of an effort.
Because I love my dude. Yeah.
But that's where they always go to. That's what they're gonna call you because it's always the getting trolls already. You guys are on the ball.
Well, yeah, when I'm standing on his front doorstep, we'll see what he calls me then.
Yeah, well, no, he'll be 6 states over, bro. They're toting raisins and pumping Kool-Aid.
Yep.
Sound like I said that on the yard. Did you remember those?
Yeah.
in case that didn't make sense to you, it means he doesn't even have blood. He's pumping through his veins, and his nut sacks look more like raisins. Kind of a prison. But guess what, folks? They're not going to slow us down. I promise you. We're going to keep bringing you the truth, and the people in power are just going to have to live with it, or they can share a cell with Diddler, because more subscribers, more trolls. Can't wait for both. All right, people, that brings us to the end of this puppy. I want to thank you for spending your morning with us again. We are getting into the groove. Come back tomorrow, and we'll be a
sorry, guys. I didn't mean to lose my cool, man. My bad.
You didn't. You're great.
Yeah, that's great.
You kidding? No, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to seeing you stomp them out like a brush fire. They would.
Yeah, I'll take my shirt off. Then I'll really freak them out.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll give them something to talk about at least. Yeah, something that's real.
That would definitely give them something to talk about.
Yeah.
They have God bless them. They got 30 people to watch them, and they kind of kick it back and forth to the 70 sock accounts that all 30. And I know this because I blocked them all, right? I block them all, and they come from the same ISP. I got 700 people blocked, and I kid you not, it's 30 people. I kid you not, because they just keep creating account after account after account. They want to look like they're a multitude. If they were a multitude, they'd be monetized. All right, people, we will be back tomorrow. Between now and then, you should probably tell a lot of people about this channel.
Thanks, guys.
Yep.
Appreciate you. Have a good night, day.
Both.
Both.
We're going and we're going.